For me, I would say something that defines resilience for me is the fact that no matter how much I get kicked down, I'm going to get back up.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to do a lot of kicking to keep me down because God made me to get back up. Like, he never made me to lay down and just stay there. So I'm never going to lay down. Like, that's just that. I'm never going to lay down. Life is going to keep lifing, and I'm never going to lay down.
Hi, it's Tiffany Lorraine Galloway, certified high performance coach and now personal trainer with another episode of the Resilient Mother podcast. This month, I'm in pink for February, the month of love, I guess you could say, but we're going to talk about resilient empowerment. Empowerment as a woman, as an individual, just tools, tips, strategies for you to be the mother you always wanted to be. And today I have with me Shawniece, who is an author and a mother herself, and we're going to dig into empowerment through an author's point of view. So thank you for being here, Shawniece. Please tell us a little bit more about you. Yeah, my pleasure.
So I'm an author out of Providence, Rhode Island. I write fiction. I also dabble in a little bit of poetry. And to be honest, I'm not even going to put myself in one category because as authors, our creativity is always expanding. But right now, my favorite thing to write is fiction.
What brought you into writing fiction in particular, or writing in general?
So my childhood, growing up, I dealt with a lot of homelessness, and I liked to read because when I read, I feel like I'm escaping this reality for a little while. When I open a book, for me, it's like a movie is playing in my head. So even though I'm reading, it's like animation in my mind. So I can open a book and be gone for as long as I'm reading that book, you know, and then you close it and you're back in reality. So growing up, seeing how other authors could do that for people, I was like, I want to do that. Like, I want to be able to take stories out of my mind and basically let people into my mind through this book and be able to create that same thing where they get so engulfed in my story that a reality around them doesn't even exist no more.
Oh, I love that. I'm into theater and I love books too. And I think we're kind of losing some of the generation coming up and understanding that books, like physical books and turning the pages and the imagination and creating it. There's some books I know I've read, they have yet to make the movie as good as what was in my mind. And that's when people say, no, the book is better than the movie because you get to be the director of the scenes. You get to decide what the characters look like, what they sound like, what the environment is like, instead of having somebody else's imagination do it for you. Nothing wrong with that. It's definitely an art, but we really need that as we move forward and as technology and different things change. We can't lose that part of our humanity, that creativity, that spark. That's something that can't really be replaced. So it's beautiful that you're able to move forward with that in your life and take what was a tool for you, and now you're making it a tool for other people in a sense. I'm curious, like, what is it like with your children with like bedtime story with you, since you're really into books and you're really into storytelling? I bet you're like the best mom at bedtime.
So my oldest son is going to be 18 and my youngest is 13. So them wanting me to read them bedtime stories, those days is not existent anymore. Yeah. Before, when they was younger, I used to love reading to them before bed. So that was something that I used to do, but they outgrew that now. So
do you have a favorite series that you read to them? Like, is it some of the classics that are out there, or did you let them like go to the library and pick?
So they actually kind of have a small library in their room. So nice. We can literally pick from the books in their room. One book that sticks out to me that they loved was the book called A Snowy Day. They actually made it a little cartoon on Netflix now, but my oldest son, he loved that book so much that before he ever really got good at reading, he memorized all the words on a page. Like, he could read the whole book to you before he actually knew every word that was on that page. So A Snowy Day. And then another one was What Snowmen Do at Night. My kids loved that book too. So those two books right there.
Yeah, I think we all have those special ones. Like, I know there's a few I've brought over from my childhood or that I remembered, like especially like Dr. Seuss, Berenstain Bears, like some different ones like that. But what like surprised me is I felt like reading books was so important. I guess that's why I brought it up, because I remember my bedtime when I was growing up was very chaotic. There were 6 of us. My parents had 6 kids in 8 years. My dad worked a lot. Sometimes my mom was just really like done.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, when I'm a mom, I'm going to make sure I read to my kids from a very young age. I'm going to make sure that reading and these stories and getting lost in it is a part of their life and a tool set they have. And so like during lockdown, I was really glad that that had been already in place, because then one of my daughters read like all of the series we had in our house. So like all of the Harry Potter series, all the Chronicles of Narnia, the Lord of the Rings, like because I had those books around,
Mm-hmm.
became available for them, and that they loved reading enough to get through those things. But if I hadn't built that foundation and shared my love of reading and my love of books, it wouldn't have passed on to the next generation. And it also led to better bedtimes, like more consistent
Mm-hmm.
bedtimes. I think it's interesting, people that struggle with bedtime and stuff, like it's such a consistency thing. Like if they know they're going to get time with you one-on-one and they're going to have that book and that reading, that's one, going to build their love for reading, but it's also about that bond and that time with you.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's why I brought it up, since we're talking about books and authorship and the dream of it and the potential of what it can do, not just for the average reader, but as a mother, like our kind of responsibility to like foster that as well.
Mm-hmm.
About those things.
No, I agree with you 100%. A lot of the stuff our children learn starts at home. So a lot of the things that your children learn or come to like or find routine is because it's happening every day in their home. So I definitely agree with what you just said.
So do you have patterns and strategies you use as a mom? We were sharing before we got on how you have like a strategy for writing books. Like how do you find what works for you in your life to help you be successful as a mother and an entrepreneur?
So do you want to start? Because what we talked about before was like how I write, the writing process. So is that something that you wanted to touch on, or do you want to touch on how I actually make time for it all?
Oh, both. I think I'm on
Okay, so
both, to be honest.
we'll start off with making time, because it's important as an author to make time for your writing. Believe me, not even just as an author, but as a person with other tasks to do, whether you're a mom, whether you're like some CEO of a company, whether you got some project going off on the side, you have to make time to write. So you have to literally set a time and then stick to that. Like me, when I wrote my book Flames, I dedicated 2 hours a day. And if I could, like, if my creativity was flowing and I wanted to go longer than that, I stayed with my creativity. But 2 hours a day. And then what I would do is I would set myself like every 2 weeks, I would spend working on one chapter. So 2 weeks gets one chapter. After that 2 weeks, you better be on day 4 because it's time for the second one. And I stayed on myself about that as if there was somebody else on me. You know, you have to stay on yourself as if someone else is watching over you, as if it's a job that your boss is expecting you to do.
Oh,
because you have to treat this craft as if it's an actual job. You have to care about it like it's an actual job, because if you don't, your book will never get done, your ideas will never come out, and it will just stay inside of a notebook somewhere.
So how did you do that with kids? Did you do it like in the morning? Did you do it after they went to bed? Or did you have, like, what boundaries did you put around that time?
So I'm going to be honest, I work a lot of overnight shifts as a CNA. So when I would come in and do my overnights, because overnights are not as active as during the day, most of the residents are sleeping. So you're there to make sure, you know, they don't get hurt. You change them. They're dry throughout the night. Get up whoever you need to get up in the morning. I would take that time at work, because like the first 2 to 3 hours at work can be boring. You know, everyone's quiet. You've done checked the floor. Everyone's sleeping. So I take my computer, getting work done. If I'm at home and I have the day off, if my kids are at school, I might take that time during that 7 to 3 block to do some writing, you know? So you just have to figure out what works for you. And some of those days might be different. Like on Monday, I might have time from 2 to 4, but on Wednesday, maybe 6 to 8 is a better time, you know? So just figure out what works for you and what's really going to work to the point that you can actually stick to it.
Absolutely. And finding something that fills.
Do you just feel stuck? It's the new year. You expected some change, but the motivation, the momentum, it's just not there, and you can't figure out why? Well, you might want a life coach. Hi, I'm Tiffany. I'm a certified high performance coach and have been for about 3 years now. And I can get people results in small mini coaching sessions. Give me 30 minutes of your time. Let me show you how you can get a breakthrough and transformation by having someone help you see what you can't see and hear what you might not be hearing in your own words and in your own story. You're the author of your story. Let me help you take back your pen and start writing the story you actually want to create, to thrive in your life and feel alive. Text coach to 435-294-5456 or shoot me an email over at resilientmomrising@gmail.com. We've got the solution for you.
Fills you up, because that isn't time wasted if it's filling you up, if it's firing you, if it's building you up. Because a lot of moms, we make the mistake of like giving, and then we run out at some point and realize we don't have anything more to give. We push too far, we gave too much, and we naturally want to do that. And some of us are kind of raised to do that, give everything for the family. But then the kids are raised and they got empty nest syndrome because they just were building around the kids and lost their identity in the process. So I totally believe in what you say. It's like we hear, put your oxygen mask on first. Well, that also means if you're going to tell your kids go for your dreams, you have to be building towards yours. You can't, you have to be the example of how you do that.
And I was just about to say that you have to lead by example. Like every time I do stuff, I show my kids because I want them to know, like, you see where your mom came from? You see who I could be, but I'm not? These are choices, baby. In the same way I have these choices and these opportunities, you do too. This is for you too.
Yeah. And that's got to come from the homelessness in that period of time. I've only been homeless for a week in my car. I was raped in a complex and I had to get out. So I lived in my car with everything.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Laid on someone's couch until someone from church could find me an appropriate place. So I only have that glimpse of what that was like. And it was really humbling, a really very humbling experience. But from that, you really find out what you're made of and your strength. And I think sometimes we think that people have it made who have these lives that are a little more comfortable, I would say, but
they don't
build adversity. We all have challenges. We all have things that have to come at us so that we can overcome them. And we absolutely want our kids to do better than we did. So I think moms who may feel guilty or just worry about being divorced mom and now they're divorced kids or my background or whatnot, nothing's going to hold you back. That unless it's something you're telling yourself in your story, it's your story. You're the author. You're holding the pen. You get to decide what happens and what's coming next. Nobody else. It doesn't matter what circumstances you are in. You can still be the best and still be a leader because you're still somewhere further than you were before. There's still someone behind you that needs your inspiration. And our kids need that more than ever. They need to know that anything is possible, especially today, especially when there's so many options. They have to know that what's actually going to be the most valuable is what makes them the most human, the most unique. That is going to be valued more than anything because that's what separates us from technology. That's what separates us from a lot of things that are being taken over. You and I being here, we're digital, but we're connecting. And there's nothing that can really replace the connection that we need as human beings. And I recognize that we both have value and we both have something to contribute in this room for this podcast for the guests, because you have a life experience that's different than mine and my experience is different than yours, but nobody's better or less than. We all have something to contribute because you're the only you in the entire universe. I'm the only me in the entire universe. And so are my kids. And you could be raising the next doctor who creates the cure for cancer. You could be raising the next famous musician. Not that they have to be any of those things. What if even you're just raising the next great mother who's projecting the next generation? Those all have value. And so I think that's another important part of the example that we set, and owning our stories and sharing our stories and letting other people know. My favorite thing are biographies. I love biographies because you think you know somebody's story, but you only got to hear the applause. Until you read their biography, you don't know when nobody was behind them, when nobody was cheering them on, or the struggles that they went through. You only get to hear the after story. And social media does us a disservice of just showing the applause.
Because they show what social media does is it shows you the end result, but it doesn't show you the work and the blood, sweat, and tears it took. So now in our minds, we're always thinking, we're not doing enough. I didn't do it, because you're comparing your story to a story where you only saw the ending. You only saw them cross the winning line, but you didn't see when they almost didn't make it to the winning line. You didn't see when they was like back there laying on the ground. I was like, should I get up? Should I keep going? Like, I don't know.
Yep.
And I feel like my second book, Unbreakable Thoughts of a Stranger, now that you're bringing this up. That's why I wrote this second book, because my first book was fiction. And my baby, she did her thing. But I wanted my second book to be more meaningful to humans. Like, I wanted to write something meaningful. And I'm like, just like you, I feel like we live in a world where everyone's so down on themselves. Everyone thinks because of their circumstances, they can't make it. Like, everyone's just so down. And I'm like, we don't realize that a lot of us are going through the same things, even though we feel alone. We feel like no one understands us. We feel like we're the only one. And we feel that way because we're scared to be vulnerable with other people about what we're really going through. And when we are vulnerable, you start to realize there's like 10 other people in this room who either went through what I'm going through, or they survived it, or they're about to go through it. You know what I mean? So it's like, we have to start sharing these parts of ourselves so we can really understand we're not alone. A lot of us are going through the same thing, have gone through the same things. We're sharing similar experiences. Like, you talked about being in the complex and that happened to you. In my book, I talk about growing up and something like that happened to me. So you get what I'm saying? Yeah. We shared something here. You get what I'm saying? We both share that type of trauma. So it's like,
so common.
When we start opening up, we can really see, oh, I'm not alone. Oh my God, she went through this too. And then those people who are going through something, feeling like they can't survive, she survived. She did it. Look at her. She's doing great. Then I can too.
Oh, amen. And we have so much more in common than we have different.
Yes.
The problem is we're obsessed with what's not real. It's just not real. It's not real to have wins constantly. That's not true. And some stories are fictional. Like, they're complete facades. They're marketing. And they're using their psychology against us to somehow make us believe it's real when it's not real. And so we're being real here in this podcast, in this room right now.
Right. It's not always pretty, and life is not always pretty. And it's those unpretty parts that really build you, like that build that resilience, that foundation. Like I said, yes, growing up being homeless, it wasn't great by no means. I went through a lot. I saw a lot. I experienced it a lot at a young age, to the point that sometimes you'd be looking back at God like, what did I do to deserve that? But then when you really look at it, you'd be like, that was refinement. I was being forged through the fire and didn't even realize it. Like, my father let me go through that but when he made me, he said, hold on, watch what my daughter's about to do. You're about to count her out, but I'm not stopping nothing coming her way, because watch what this is about to do to her, and watch how it's about to build her. So I went through all that, and I feel like I'm a strong individual. I have a strong foundation. I'm very resilient, and it allowed me to realize that I can go through things and bounce back. So it's like, when stuff happens, I'd be like, listen, life was already kicking me at a young age and I made it. So what you got? Tell me what you got.
Bring it on. Bring it on, life. In my faith, a way I've been looking at that's helped me too is realizing in my faith, I chose to come here. I was presented the option to come down here. And I feel like there's a veil that goes on us that we don't quite remember what we committed to, because we need to use agency in order to have faith. Because there's no faith without agency. And the only thing I can give God is my agency and accept what his will is. So when things get really, really tough for me and they're really difficult and I'm going, what the heck? All right, I've been through worse. Okay, I know I can do this. But I also think I agreed to this. If I agreed to this life, if I agreed to what I'm facing, I must have known I was going to be able to get through it. That I have a savior who paid the price for me to get through it. That I have a God who is there to get me through it, as long as I turn and choose him. And I accept that this is part of the human experience as well, that no one crosses your path who is not meant to cross your path. Nothing that happens to you cannot have a higher or greater purpose, but you have to choose it. Just like you have to choose to write your story and not get down and bogged down by the things that could hold you back from your full potential. Because you want to be able to face God one day and have him be, he's going to be proud and he's going to love us no matter what. But how great would it be to really understand that you became who you were meant to become through those things, and that you don't have regret for not raising up to the level that he knew you could because of what he refined you. As you said, I love the idea that the hotter the fire, the purer the gold. It takes a lot of pressure to make it.
Pressure makes diamonds, right? Pressure makes diamonds.
So speaking of all the rough and tumble,
listen.
Yeah, the process though. So like, you're an author. Some people are like, "Ooh, I want to be an author." But what was the process? I mean, you had to develop a writing process. You had to find strategies. There may have been a first book attempt. Like, it doesn't just happen that there's a book and an author. So let's tell them about that journey.
So in the beginning, right? I did do this thing where I was free writing, where the story came to me and I'm just like, da, 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 da. But then that's trash because you're losing stuff. You get halfway through the story. You forgot what happened in chapter 3. You have nothing to help you recall. So if you want to write, I would suggest that you plan out as much as you can. So what I usually do is, like I said, for me, books are like movies in my head. So for example, when I wrote Flames, I saw Flames in my head from front to back before I ever wrote it. I was like, okay, now we just got to get it out of our head onto the paper. So for me, I feel like Flames is a movie only I saw. People have read the book, but Flames is a movie only I have saw, you know? So what I usually do is I like to call this the gist of your book. So you know how like when you go to a movie and somebody says, hey, what was that movie about? And you give them the rundown about what the movie was about. And there might be some stuff you don't say, but you give them the main importance of what this movie was about. So for me, I feel like that's your gist. What is your book about? Give me 3 to 5 paragraphs, beginning, middle, end, as deep as you can get, as much as coming out to you at that time. Write it out. I get my 3 to 5 paragraphs. Then what I'll do is I will expand those paragraphs into chapters. And my lucky number is usually 10. Don't ask me why, but I usually start off with 10 chapters. If it expands past that, then fine. But I usually start with 10. And I will literally just take everything because when you're writing this, you're going from beginning, middle to end. So you could take all that, dissect it, and put it into your chapters. And I like to treat my chapters like a Netflix series because I feel like your book is like a series, right? Something important is happening in each chapter that is leading you from the beginning to the very end. And each one of those events that is happening in each of those chapters is one of like the main things happening that is getting you to the end result. So I feel like that's how you got to treat your book. You got to treat it like it's a Netflix series and every chapter is an episode. Why is this episode important? What is happening in this episode? What in this episode is leading us to the end? So that's how I like to do it. And then I'll also develop my characters. I like to develop what they look like. What is their...
Get your resilient fix in 2026 with Coach Tiffany, now a nationally recognized certified personal trainer and also your high performance coach, host of the Resilient Mother podcast. You can now train with her in person or online. Just text TRAIN to 435-294-5456. You can also find her at the Sports Academy in Logan, Utah, or you can email her at resilientmomrising@gmail.com. We'll see you soon. Resilient you.
Thank you for joining us today. Please don't forget to subscribe so we can share this message. We are a worldwide podcast with guests all around the world, and we want to continue to grow this community. You can find us on socials. You could also be a guest. Look for that link below if you'd be interested in being a guest on the podcast. If you know a sponsor or would like to be a sponsor, please reach out to me or Catherine as well.
Sure. We want you all on this journey. We want to hear your stories. We want to share your stories. We want to gain strength from each other because together we're stronger. And to never forget the blessing of being a mother and what we're creating. We're creating the future every single day of our lives. So get on this train with us and let's do this thing, moms.
I believe in you. Believe in yourself. God bless. And we'll see you around. Take care.